Hello, everybody. Welcome to DDoc and welcome to our first ever symposium here at EASD, the first ever DDoc Symposium. It's my great honor to be here. My name is Bastian Hauck. I'm the founder of DDoc, and when I started DDoc pretty much exactly 10 years ago, this is what I had in mind: a panel at the world's largest diabetes conference with patient advocates talking to a room filled with other members of our community, filled with HCPs, with nurses, with doctors, and with industry partners. We've done this for a couple of years in Doc Day, but now we're here in the program, printed, not this year, but virtual is everything. But we are there, and that is thanks to Chantal and Mathieu, who will talk in just a minute. I will keep these introductory words very, very short. But before I start, there's two things I want to say. First of all, those of you on Twitter will have already met them. Those of you who have come to our booth will have met them. I want to introduce you to the DDoc Voices. The DDoc Voices is at the core of everything DDoc does. It's our scholarship program. We bring about 150 diabetes advocates from around the world to conferences like this. This means right now, here at EASD in person, there's some 25 patient advocates going from Pakistan, from Korea, from Africa, from Latin America, all over Europe, and some of them are here in the room, and I would like all the DDoc Voices to just stand up for a minute and wave so that the others can see you. Thank you for being here. $150 scholarships every year, 25 or so here in person, another 25 virtual scholarships. So these are participants that are following now live and retweeting from the conference. The second thing I want to say is I want to say a warm welcome, not to everybody here in the room, but everybody following virtually. And I know this has become a bit of normal, that conferences are hybrid, and we'll talk about this a little bit more towards the end. But what is very special, and I don't think it has ever been done, is that this symposium here is not only streamed within the virtual conference platform of EASD, it is currently streamed live on our YouTube channel, on our Facebook Live, and on our website, beyond the paywall of EASD, because we think it is so important that the whole diabetes community, the online community, the patient advocates out there can follow. This is what we do at DDoc. We try to make it accessible. Access, the way we interpret it, means bringing people here in person, virtually, out there from across the world. So whether you are in India or Pakistan, in Korea, in Africa, in Latin America, in China and Russia, or anywhere in Europe or the US, welcome to the DDoc Symposium streaming live from Stockholm. With that, I am handing over to Chantal Mathieu, President of EASD, who's made all of this possible. Thank you, Chantal.
I'm not the president. I'm the senior vice president. But I am going to take some evidence. I need to show the administrators that we filled this room. Yay! So, because there's still some seats. Please let people in. There's still some seats here. So, because we cannot be standing apparently, and it looks like it's standing room only. So do come in. This is 128 seats. Can you believe it? So come in, come in. So without joking, welcome to probably the most important members of the team when it comes to treating people living with diabetes, namely the people living with diabetes. And so many years ago, when Bastian approached EASD to be associated as DDoc with EASD, it was a different world out there. And he always tells the story, and it's a true story, that they could come, but they couldn't be in the same building. Can you believe it? So, and it had nothing to do with EASD. It had to do with regulations and sponsoring and la-di-da-di-da. But times have fortunately changed, and now you are where you should be, namely in the middle of those dealing with this disease that is diabetes. And I love the title, What We Wish You Knew and Why. That is crucial. You need to talk, you need to speak up, you need to let your voices be heard in this festival of science and going from basic to clinical science. This is essential because indeed nothing about you without you. And I really wish you sniffle around the whole conference, ask critical questions. You know, what young scientists and young researchers need is people living with the disease asking relevant questions, what it means, their research, and not what it means, but what it means. So have people explain to you in the short orals or in the symposia, whatever. Ask them what it means to you as a person living with diabetes, because it puts everything we do as researchers or clinicians into a completely different perspective. And so it's with great pride that I welcome all of you to this ESD conference. And it's an open invitation to be part of our conference again next year and the year thereafter and the year thereafter, because that's how it should be. The fact that you're allowed to be streamed outside of ESD is, oh my God, how did you do it? I can tell you that EUDF, Mr. Turbijns, didn't succeed. He tried, but he didn't succeed. So it's only the voices who succeeded. So I will have to run to another meeting. I will be very discreetly parked in the back. I will kindly ask the ladies to do allow me to stand up for half an hour, because I do want to hear what is happening. But I wish you a fantastic symposium. You are part of the ESD community. Welcome.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Chantal. There are a couple of seats here and over here. So if anybody comes in, please do let them in so that they can sit here. Thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Renza Shibilia. I'm a diabetes advocate and activist from Australia. I am so honoured and proud to call the DiabetesChat team part of my own team. And that is just something that I honestly can't believe every day, because to work alongside people who live, breathe, sleep, eat, and everything else community is all I ever wanted from my advocacy. And hey, I got there, which is pretty special. So thank you to the team there. And we have an incredible, incredible symposium today with incredible, incredible speakers. Now, when COVID started, everybody scrambled to try and work out how can people with diabetes stay connected to their healthcare teams. And absolutely, that was critically important, because we didn't want to get to the point where people were falling out of care because they simply were unable to see their healthcare team. So there were great digital solutions that we'd been crying out for ages that suddenly happened overnight, and thank goodness that was the case. But at the same time, the diabetes community was looking to work out how we could still remain connected so that we could continue that peer support and peer-to-peer learning. Now, in some ways, we were kind of already really well placed with that, because so much has already been done online. But today we're going to hear from some people who had established communities and what that looked like when they needed to pivot. We're going to hear from people who created new communities during COVID and new platforms. And we're going to hear from individuals telling their own stories about how they found networks and communities to help them through. I call peer support life-saving and life-changing, and it absolutely is, and you are going to get a chance to hear about that today. So that's enough from me right now. I'm going to introduce our first speaker, the truly remarkable Andrea Limbourg from France, who is going to talk about her work in community support. Andrea has been an absolute voice of the diabetes community for a number of years, and we're absolutely delighted that she's going to come to the microphone right now. She looks very nervous. Make her feel very welcome, please.
Thank you, Renza, for your very kind words of introduction. I'm so honored to be here to speak with you today. I've been living with type 1 diabetes for 25 years, and right from the very beginning, I sought out peer support because I did not want to live with this all by myself. And I quickly got involved in organizing events as well. So I'm going to talk to you today a little bit about the diabetes online community and give some examples about how the different communities around the world coped and adapted their initiatives during the COVID pandemic. So going online for information and peer support is nothing new for people with diabetes. Shortly after I was diagnosed in 1997, I found listservs, early Delphi and about.com forums, and primitive websites and with messaging and discussion forums like the insulinpumping.org website. By the mid-2000s, there were personal blogs in a multitude of languages. Weekly tweet chats started in English in the US and then quickly spread out in different countries and around the world in the years following. And now there are literally tens of thousands of Facebook groups that are hosted by people with diabetes all around the world, and either from local areas or on specific topics. People have found and created communities throughout all of the social platforms as these platforms have developed over time. All of these ways to find community and connect with people who are going through similar circumstances or have similar interests, whether it was running marathons or bolusing correctly for pizza or just needing an ear and a virtual shoulder. So even before the COVID pandemic hit, people with diabetes had a couple of decades of building and expanding their peer support online. But not everyone is online or is looking to connect that way. And some people don't even know that there is a whole community out there. So in COVID, and especially during that first lockdown in 2020, there was an accelerated use of online peer support, and I'm going to give you just a few examples. In the short amount of time that I researched what I was going to talk to you about today, I realized that I could fill this 90-minute symposium just with incredible examples from around the world, but Renza's going to cut off my mic in 5 minutes, so I'm going to stick to just a few. And I'm going to start in France, where I live, and where I've been organizing monthly meetups that have gone virtual in the last 2.5 years. But I spoke from local diabetes association on Mediterranean coast near Nice, which is entirely run by patient volunteers. Before the pandemic, they had cooking workshops and physical activity workshops specifically for people with type 2 diabetes. And as soon as that first lockdown went into place, they transformed both of these onto online events. They kept the same 10 to 12 people limit, and they kept the same times and days of the week as was offered in person. And very importantly, they offered technical support for people who needed it to start using these online tools like Zoom that so many of us discovered in early 2020. They also kept in touch with participants and all of their association members between the online meetups with weekly emails where they sent out exercise sheets and menus and recipes that had developed during the meetups. At a national level in France, a patient-run telephone support line was put into place by the French Diabetes Federation, open 7 days a week from 10 to 8 p.m. and was staffed by people with diabetes who received some training in listening and peer support. They were able to give accurate information and reliable resources to people who called in with concerns about diabetes and COVID. Over in the US, I spoke with Carol Vachon, Joanne Milo, and Gladwin Weber, who are founding members of a group that brought a local peer support group to an international level. As many of you will know, there's been a growing community of people over the last 8 years or so who have been building their own DIY closed loop systems. The community support has been instrumental in both the technical side of building these systems, but also how to use them safely and effectively. In 2008, there was a small such group in Southern California who wanted to support each other, exchange information, and give technical tips and tricks. They scrambled to find venues to hold meetups at first. This picture is a loop build party from England, but it would have looked the same in Southern California. And they did manage to find some endocrinologists who would support them and help them find venues, at which point they included speakers on video feed from across the country. And there are about 100 people in this Southern California loopers group at this point. When the world went into lockdown, the admins of the group got together to ask themselves how they could best help the community, which was now so isolated from one another. The community was growing, so they rebranded the SoCal Loopers to Loop and Learn with some simple principles. Be kind, help the community get answers to their questions, and provide safe, clear, easy to understand documentation. The Facebook group grew exponentially over the following years, and it has close to 6,000 members worldwide today. And within the first few months of the lockdown, there was a YouTube speaker series that was born and is still going on today with about 100 videos and guests who talk both about building and using Loop, but also about diabetes tech news on a much broader scale. So back in Europe, I spoke with Grania Flynn from Ireland. In the first lockdown, patients in Ireland were completely cut off from clinical teams, who took a long time to be able to communicate effectively with little possibility of using even email, let alone telemedicine platforms. So people with diabetes turned to online groups. A Diabetes Ireland Facebook group, which was moderated by people with diabetes, saw huge growth in 2020. Many WhatsApp groups were also popping up. And these patient communities were able to share information, for example, that repeat prescriptions were extended from 9 months from 6. And they were able to quickly nip any misinformation that was being shared. A local support group in Dublin started hosting their meetings online and quickly tripled the number of people participating. A local group in the west of Ireland also started hosting their meetings online and took advantage of the fact that they could bring in international speakers without the cost of international travel. And the annual Thrivabetes conference went online and had almost as many households connect in 2020 as they previously had individuals in the previous years. And across the world, I also spoke with Anita Sabidi, a diabetes advocate and very talented artist in Indonesia. She broke down their initiatives into 3 categories. Pre-pandemic, people with diabetes could only get 1 month of supplies from their primary health care providers. Diabetes advocates lobbied to increase that to 3 months at a time so that people wouldn't have to go out so often during lockdown. The health authorities agreed, which makes it sound really, really simple, but I have to go fast. They were also fundraising events online to be able to collect money and donate glucose testing supplies, as they are not covered in any healthcare plans in Indonesia. And finally, they organized an online conference on diabetes and women's health and invited healthcare professionals to speak. They addressed topics like pregnancy, menstruation, menopause, topics we need to hear a lot more about and often remain far too much taboo. Having this conference online allowed more women to attend, as they didn't need to travel, and they could remain anonymous if they chose to. So this is only, that's a picture of the many women who were attending. This is only a very brief overview of the creativity and persistence of the diabetes online community to show that when COVID hit, not only did we not simply cancel superior port initiatives that existed, but we used those opportunities, those tiny silver linings, to increase and multiply peer support even further than was previously done. Online communities enable us to find people like us, talking about topics that we're interested in all over the world, 24 hours a day. Diabetes is hard and it can be quite isolating in the best of times, but we don't have to do this alone. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. Please, we would really hope that there are going to be lots of questions. We are going to have a panel discussion at the end, so please note them down and we will come back to those questions later on. I am now delighted to introduce Jeff Hitchcock. Now, I think many of you will know Jeff. Jeff is going to talk all about children with diabetes, which is an incredible, incredible group out of the US who come together in July in Orlando. And he's going to talk about how did you go from having 3,500 people come to Orlando to Disney World to not doing that, but still keeping your community going and thriving. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you. Let me put some context, which I think is important for professionals in the room to understand. Elliot Joslin, a pioneer in diabetes care in the United States, was quoted as saying, "The person with diabetes who knows the most lives the longest." And that was true in the 1920s, and it remains true in the 2020s. And this other slide really illustrates why peer support is so critical. The blue circle representing international diabetes has a little white sliver there. And that little white sliver represents the 0.02% of the time in a year in which we, the people living with diabetes, see our healthcare professionals. And the rest, almost the whole year, we are on our own. The mission of the organization I run is to provide education and support to families living with type 1 diabetes. We began as a website in 1995 to share the story of my family raising a child with type 1, who actually is sitting here in the room right now. She is now an adult diabetes nurse educator. And the good news is the website has advanced significantly because I am a math major. I am not a designer. It looks so much better now that we have a real designer. But what we are most known for is Friends for Life, the conferences that we run in Orlando. This is the sign at the hotel for our first event in June of 2000. They got 2 words right, welcome and with. So this began when Laura Bilodeau asked other families who were part of our online support group if anyone wanted to share a vacation with her. Well, 110 families or 550 people showed up. And from that, we asked, what do we do next? And by the way, this is a picture of all the kids with type 1 diabetes. The arrow on your left is Marissa, and the arrow on the right is Laura's son, Sam. So in 2001, we actually held a first real event. The gentleman on the left is Gary Hall Jr., the US Olympian who was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes and told he would never swim again. Well, he of course swam and won records. Right before this, he was standing on the edge of the pool with a shirt on, and he rips his shirt off and all the moms gasped. And on the right is a team from the Diabetes Research Institute in Miami, which came down and did an islet transplant on a teddy bear to show our kids where science was going. There are a whole lot of years in between, but I want to share a couple of other things. In 2016, on the right, we held our first fellows program. So we talk about how do we teach type 1, the real experience, to healthcare professionals. So these are newly minted endocrinologists and PhDs who came and experienced type 1 diabetes in the wild with our families, to remember that when they went back into practice. In 2017, we had this family on the left. Those are 2 little girls, twins, diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at about a year old, sporting the latest tech. In 2018, the first year we had more adults with type 1 diabetes at our conference than kids. And in 2019, little did we know what was coming, right? NFL football star Mark Andrews, who's about 6 foot this, and the president of ADA opened the exhibit hall. And on the right, I'm too tired. This is a reminder that the very youngest kids get diabetes. At our conferences, if you have diabetes, you wear a green bracelet. This girl's wrist was too small, so it was on her ankle. The last event in the diabetes world before things changed was Madrid in 2020 at ATTD. We joined with ISPAD and celebrated years of working together and the importance of getting together as groups. And you can actually see Ren's over there and Bastian's in one of these too. And then everything changed, except in Sweden. You knew that. Sweden did not lock down. So what in the world do we do? Well, we began immediately with new digital offerings. We wanted to continue the science, so we created something called Screenside Chats. We wanted to continue sharing the innovative work of our industry partners, so we created Masterpiece Product Theaters, and that little dog is a picture of Marissa's dog, Baxter. We expanded our weekly diabetes email newsletter to have more rich content, and a group of moms decided they wanted to get together on Zoom every other week, and that's our Moffel Chat, Moms of Friends for Life. We expanded the clinical writing that we did. Marissa, in fact, our clinical director, writes every week on a variety of topics to make sure that the education is continuing to be delivered. We scour the internet for new studies and research articles to share those so that our readers stay up to date on a wide variety of topics. Over the course of, well, since 1995, we've answered about 18,000 questions on every aspect imaginable on diabetes. And it began with a Dear Dr. Hitchcock email, and I'm not a doctor. So we enlist a lot of you as professionals. Our social media presence expanded, as we all did because we had to. And then in 2020, we built a virtual conference platform using Zoom and web pages. Simple technology, very low cost, and we had almost 5,600 people from 55 countries register and attend. It was amazing, but it wasn't the same. So in December of 2020, the first vaccine was delivered. And as I wrote, with vaccines come immunity, with immunity comes community. So in 21, we returned sort of half normal, social distancing and all of that. And it turns out that Friends for Life Orlando 2021 was the largest in-person diabetes event on the planet. It was also the only in-person diabetes event on the planet. We don't worry about that. 2022, we were back to full capacity, 1,800 people. People from 12 countries came, 45 states, and I got COVID on the last day. Tested positive in 15 seconds on the home test, drove home. But we were still there, and the vaccines had prevented anyone from getting very sick. So a little bit briefly, I think I have some time, Fiffles. So I kind of mentioned that there's been this change. And if you look at the top center, I don't know if this laser thing works, it does here. So now more adults with type 1 diabetes that are at our events than kids. And I think it's a reflection of two things. The kids who grew up through our events want to come back, and adults with type 1 are finding their tribe. They're finding a place they can go where everyone knows the beeps. But there's a little bit more. This is an important project that I work on with Chris, who's in the back, Bastian, and Renza. If you don't know Sparrow Rose, please look it up. We raise money every year to help families in under-resourced countries to receive insulin and diabetes care supplies, and we focused everything this year on helping families in Ukraine. At ATTD in 2022, as the world began to open up again, we recognized the founders of that conference, Tad and Moshe, for bringing innovation in diabetes care to patients sooner. Their work has been instrumental in that. At ADA in New Orleans, we held a whole bunch of events again, helping connect families with type 1 diabetes with the people who build the products and innovate for us. This is our digital reach in 2021. We don't have this data for 2022 yet, but it's significantly more than we had in the years before. But remember why? So, thank you. There you go.
I've been to a Friends for Life conference, and I said this the other night. Before I went and people were talking about it, I thought they drank the Kool-Aid. It's like, really? What is it? It's a bit like a cult. And then I went and I completely and utterly got it. It changed my life. It changed my family's life. So thank you for making sure that it kept going through COVID and has come back stronger and stronger. So thank you so much. Okay, we will all take a breath. And I'm now going to introduce you to the truly amazing Salih Hendricks, who's going to tell his story. I hope that we have all got, brought along a little bit of resilience and just incredible, being open to incredible stories, because you're about to hear another one right now. So please welcome Salih.
Thanks. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I'm a little bit nervous, but anyway, with my two previous people, Andrea and Jeff, what I'm actually introducing is it's not new, but in COVID, it became new. And the new diabetic amputee community, it came with peer support, peer advocacy. It was a sad time, but we reached out to each other. And it was something that we never knew that COVID would actually bring us together. We never knew that. We reached out with media, and it was just comforting to, as it states here, comforting to realize that you're not alone, and you're never alone. And we reached out with WhatsApp, Instagram, and Twitter. And the power that the peer support actually gave people was phenomenal. It was really phenomenal. And the only thing is that with all this technology that was spoken about, we reached out with WhatsApp, Instagram, and everything, but there was one community that was forgotten about, and that was the people without technology. And I sat down one night and I said, how do we get the message out? And something came up to me and said, what did the Indians actually do? The smoke signal. And I called the last media, the smoke signal media. It is what we actually do collectively on media with the support with each other, the lived experiences, and what we actually gather with that information, we pass on to the communities without media. So we call that the smoke signal media. You just actually continue it. Without any media, you actually go into your communities and you pass it along. So we do the printouts on pamphlets and everything. So it is something that I didn't actually think of. It just came into me, the smoke signal media. And it is something that I'm proud of, but as Andrea and Jeff actually spoke about, it is something phenomenal on how you actually go out there with your lived experience. And slide 3 was actually a passion of me in 2022. January, where something just bumped me into the head of inclusion. And we've actually included everybody. And if I say everybody, it is the conditions that actually comes with diabetes. And with the networking, we became family with the support, with this peer support. And I actually encourage the acceptance, because acceptance comes with a lot of emotions. And this actually brought us closer together, but the smoke signal continued. This is just me that, if I actually go out there, it is trying to encourage people the independence that you can achieve and the acceptance that you can actually bring to yourself. And in this period of COVID, I had my amputation. It was a period of getting independent, of driving around yourself to various sessions of doctors, your rehab, and everything, continuing with your exercises, getting the right paperwork so that people can see. You don't have to be embarrassed that you're actually amputee or a diabetic, or a diabetic amputee. And I reached my goals on everything. And it is something which I actually encourage the community that I actually work with, and that is the diabetes amputee community. Is not to be embarrassed about anything that you actually overcome or the condition that leads from diabetes. This is just a few photos that I gathered with the community, and we're all diabetics and all amputees. The only person that actually, I don't want to cry, but it is something that the lady Fatima, just 3 weeks ago, she became a double amputee. And she also suffers from Graves' disease, hypertension, and it's conditions which just continues. But the support that we give her, it is something that carries her through. As a double amputee, before I left, it was just phoning around to people, the prosthetists and doctors, and we actually gathered money together to get her new legs, as we call it. And she is so ecstatic about it. She asked me, when are you coming back, Salih? And I said, I'll be back the 24th. She can't wait. She can't wait. So this community, or these people on this photo or presentation, it is the people that does the smoke signal. They actually go out to other communities that are struggling as well. So it is I would like to promote the smoke signal where it is not only the communities that don't have media, it is the communities that are illiterate as well. In South Africa, there is a lot of people that's illiterate, and especially in our Black communities in Cape Town. So it is passing this along to everybody, getting the message out there, you're not alone. This is our next steps. In fact, we're busy with this actually with the multidisciplinaries approach to manage the diabetic amputees. We've got in this little circle that you see, it is the doctors and physios, endocrinologists, podiatrists, which we're actually busy with now at this moment to actually, we approach them on a low-cost support, but a lot of them is actually doing it for free because it's people in our communities that cannot afford healthcare. So we're taking this the next level to get multidisciplinary support for our community of diabetes amputees. And it is hard work, but I enjoy it. And being part of this DDoc has actually taken me to another level of advocacy in many respects. And I just want to thank everybody. If I look at Bastian and everybody along here, I am here live speaking with all of you, but it is the lived experience that counts. Thank you very much.
You know, I've worked in diabetes organisations for 21 years now, and I can't tell you how many times I sat in rooms when people said, how do we reach those hard-to-reach communities? And about 5 years ago, I started calling people out when they said that. They're not hard-to-reach communities. They're communities that don't respond to the things that we, as a diabetes organisation or as health professionals, have decided this is how we communicate. The idea of going to people where they are is how we need to think about reaching the people we've not been able to reach before. It's not about people being disengaged. It's not about people being hard to reach. It's about not finding the language that they need for us to speak to them, to help them. So thank you so, so much for highlighting your experience of how that has worked so, so brilliantly. Thank you. Okay, we have our final speaker before we have our panel discussion, and I'm so delighted to introduce Tom Dean, who started something during COVID, and he kind of used something that was established, but there was a new bit to it, and he's going to share about just what does it mean when you get to actually talk on Twitter. Come and share your experience with us, Tom, and tell us about your community.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with DiabetesChat and amazing speakers. So thank you for having me. So today I'm going to talk about the DiabetesChat community. But before we do that, I wanted to put a bit of context behind who I am, because I'm not just a piece of, like, I'm not a number. I'm a person. Okay, I have diabetes, and we need to remember that. So I was born in Wales. I met my wife in Aberystwyth, and I know she's watching with our son Harry right now. I'm an early years teacher. I was married in August 2018, and our son was born during the first lockdown. But I was diagnosed with diabetes when I was 17 years old. So as I was in secondary school, as in my last year of school, and I was thinking about going to university, and things just changed. So yeah, I was 17 years old. So I'm going to talk about DiabetesChat, but I wanted to show you a little bit about DiabetesChat, and hopefully the video will work. No sound? No?
Maybe you just keep on talking.
Yeah. So let's hopefully get to the end, and then we'll hopefully come back. So DiabetesChat, right? The idea came from where I was at home one night. So for 15 years living with diabetes, I basically didn't tell many people, didn't tell friends, didn't tell colleagues, didn't really go about embracing my diabetes, because you know what? I was embarrassed. I was scared what people would think, and I just wanted to be normal. And like I said, I was 17, and a few years later, I went to university, and I just wanted to be normal. I wanted to be one of the boys, having a great time, and I had diabetes, and I didn't want to tell people. So recently, I got Libre, and it was life-changing. So 15 years, I've been crying out for technology, and I had a letter through the post. I had COVID at the time. I was sat upstairs, and my wife put a letter through under the door, because we were isolating away from each other. And I got the invite for Libre, and it changed my perception of how I feel and my confidence to embrace my diabetes. So the following weeks, I started following more people on Twitter and seeing the amazing advocacy of people. And I sat at home and thought, how can I maybe connect with people and talk to people? So on Twitter, it enables you to have the Twitter Spaces. And I've been on many Twitter Spaces for football or different things. So I thought, why don't I set up a chat one night? And this wasn't a thinking about there's going to be a growing community. It's just a one-off thing, maybe. Okay, and we'll see if anyone wants to come along and talk to me. Okay, so there's a picture there of the evening of about to go live on Twitter, and Harry and Kat were having a cup of tea, and then 10 minutes later, they went off to bed, and I pressed the live button, and you know what? Someone came, and Flipper and Serena came along, and they spoke to me, and I was like gobsmacked, right? Because it was just amazing. And what this community is it's an international, global community. We have had people from all over the world that have joined us, from Australia, from different parts of Europe, America, and it's for everyone, okay? So the mission statement, you can read that for yourselves. But for me, it is bringing people together. It is sharing lived experiences. It's talking. It's hearing these amazing stories that we've heard today. And there's so many lived experiences out there in front of me here. And it's connecting with people and not feeling alone, because that's what I felt. And I hear so many amazing stories now of people feeling that they can talk and come on our community. So within our community, we host weekly chat spaces, and we do different features within the chat. So we do weekly polls, so we can get some flow discussion going. We do a diabetes news segment, so we have some news segments, and one of my co-hosts, Chris, will present that and tell the listening audience of what's been happening, what's coming up. And then we do a bit of a fun fact. And also I wanted to say as well that the people behind the scenes, the people, my team, my co-hosting team, the admin team, they are all people with diabetes, yeah? And that's amazing. And the biggest thing, what I feel that brings people together in this peer support group is the speaking, the guest speaker chat, and the open forum. So there's two parts. The guest speaker chat is where we have, actually, I'll read this first. So we have been running Diabetes Chat since February, okay? And we've been doing it week in, week out, consecutively for 33 weeks. We've hosted 34 guest speakers today within 27 chats. We run for around 3-4 hours a night, and sometimes I just can't get off the line because people just want to keep talking. But it's great. And it's about 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm thinking, you know what, I'm a teacher, I'm up in about 6 hours time, I can hear Harry screaming, oh my God, but I'm having a great time. Since July, I've just got some stats for the last couple of months. There you go, you can see the sort of figures that people are tuning in. We've held one research event where we had 5 amazing researchers come on and presented their research to the community, and that was amazing. And as Jeff said before, that 0.2% of time you guys spend with healthcare professionals or them sort of teams, and then having these guys come on and sharing their amazing research and then involving the community to talk and ask questions, amazing. And similarly with the guest speaker chats, which I'll talk about in a second. We've had 5 community events, and there's some stats and data for followers and the website. So peer support. To me, and I've asked these questions to the community, it is about making diabetes. And that's what I want my community, the Diabetes Chat, to bring, is that you're making friends and you are learning new things, you're connecting, you are talking, you're normalizing things, okay? And I've learned that so much, like, and not feeling alone, because that was my sort of main point of why I set it up. Because I felt alone. I felt so isolated with it, I didn't even know where to turn anymore. And I've just grown with confidence in feeling that I can embrace my diabetes, and that's how I feel it should be about. And it's sharing them lived experiences and talking and just learning from each other. So here are some tweets that I've just got from people. So the idea behind the chat is that you can talk, you can request the mic, and you can come share your experience. You can also tweet along, okay? So that's another opportunity for them to get involved. And like I said, there's all them fun different features that people can get involved in as well. So yeah, hopefully you can see some of the points there. As I said, we host guest speakers, and we've been doing this since week 2. And Janina from New Zealand was our first ever guest speaker, and our lovely Renza came on the Diabetes Chat as well. And as you can see there is a fantastic array of amazing advocates, healthcare professionals, diabetes advocates, sports athletes, people who have diabetes. We've got a nurse, I know James there, who is a DSN and also has diabetes. And all these people have come on and shared with the diabetes communities their areas of expertise. They've told their stories, and then the community have interacted with them. And it's just been amazing. We've learned about their diabetes and their journey, and then the community have asked questions as well. And there are some of the sort of hot topics that we take away from the guest speaker chats, and also from the open forum. And the open forum is where, for you guys, you can come along and you can talk, you can ask questions, you can share experiences. These are some of the things that have cropped up over the past 8 months that we've talked about, and they are so important topics there. So, Diabetes Chat, what is next for the community? Well, like I say, we run weekly chat spaces, okay? And we do this every Monday, 8 p.m. UK time. And each week we have a guest speaker, like I said. There you can see the lineup, the upcoming guest speakers for October. So fantastic 4 speakers that will be coming. And like I said, we have a research event as well, where we'll be hopefully getting healthcare professionals, researchers, to come on and share their research with the diabetes community. And then hopefully we can have that interaction as well. So for you guys out there as healthcare professionals, please get in touch with me, and we can hopefully share your amazing research. And if there's ways that the diabetes community can get involved in your research, please share it. I think it's so important that we're part of these research projects. And World Diabetes Day, we know that's coming in November. So we are going to do a 24-hour Twitter space to spread awareness of diabetes. We've got some fantastic speakers lined up, and all will be coming and revealed in the next couple of weeks. And it's all about connecting with people from all over the world, okay? United together, and just learning experiences and not feeling alone. And there you go. There's some information that you can follow me, the Diabetes Chat website. If you want to send us an email, please do. And there's the Twitter handles. Can I try and see if the video works? It's a 1-minute video to finish.
Hey, I'm Tom.
Hello everybody, I'm Morgan.
Hey guys, I'm Chris.
Come join the Diabetes Chat every Monday, 8 p.m. UK time. And with people from all over the world with diabetes or have a connection with diabetes, tune into our diabetes news of the week, our fun fact all about diabetes. Plus, each week we host guest speakers, including sports athletes, healthcare professionals, and all-round advocates of diabetes. So why not come join a live Q&A? And our open forum where you can chat, meet, and connect with people with diabetes from all over the world. You can share experiences and journeys, ask questions, and make new diabetic friends. You can follow us on Twitter at diabetes_chat and check out the hashtag diabeteschat to interact and join in the community.
So there you go. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Gosh, who doesn't want to join in now? That's so much fun. Okay, I know that I said before that Tom was our last speaker. I totally made that up. Our last speaker, and we're going to bring Bastian back to the microphone because he's actually going to talk about DDoc and what this is all about and how it started and got to where we are now. And then we will have our panel discussion, so do hold on to those questions. So Bastian, come up to the microphone.
I have to admit that wasn't the idea. The idea was to have a group here of diabetes advocates who continued to use or invented new forms of peer support during these difficult years of COVID, during these 2.5 years of lockdown, and to show and shine a light on how institutions like Children with Diabetes adapted very quickly, how people like Salih managed to reach out to people they hadn't done, although you were doubly locked down. You were in South Africa, in your house with COVID, having lost your leg, and then building a new community using Instagram. I think it's amazing. And the diabetes tweet chat you just heard about, I mean, this is something we've done in DDoc. This is where we started. DDoc started on Twitter doing chats, but that was when Twitter was just limited to 100 and some characters. Now it's proper conversations. So it's amazing how this has worked. But then my team told me I can't do a great panel like this without talking how DDoc and especially Doc Day has adapted during COVID. So I tried to do this very, very quickly. The first Doc Day ever that we did, I'm going to skip the first couple of years when this was only national in Germany, but the first international Doc Day we did was actually at EASD here in Stockholm in 2015. It was a very different show then, because you heard Chantal, Mathieu say this in the beginning, we weren't allowed to be here. So instead, I personally, DiDoc wasn't an organization then. I used a couple of euros and asked a co-working space, a small cafe in downtown Stockholm, if we could get some people there, and some people who would be invited by some pharma companies or meta companies for an event the day before EASD started were here, and I contacted them and asked them to stay on if they could find a cheap youth hostel and meet us there. So we were not allowed to go to EASD. Some companies had flown in some people for a bloggers event, but that was it. We had this most amazing event in this small co-working space. I remember it was hot, it was sweaty. All we had was some money for black coffee and some cinnamon buns. But there were some 20, 30 people from all over Europe. And the one thing I had forgotten is to create an agenda. So I walked into that room, everybody was looking at me and people were like, so what are we doing? And I was like, actually, I don't know. I thought it was important to bring these people together. And then I came up with 2 slogans, and they have stayed the basis of everything we do at DiDoc. The first thing was, I said, Doc Day, this event, the Diabetes Online Community Day here in Stockholm at EASD, Doc Day doesn't have an agenda, you are the agenda. So whatever you want to talk about, come forward. And the second thing that developed out of this was that Doc Day and DiDoc, it's not about what I want to say or what we as a team today want to say or what we want to teach or educate people on. That's not what we do. Doc Day and DiDoc, we're a platform for others to stand on. We're a platform for these people, for the great DiDoc voices here in the room to stand on. Doc Days, fast forward, came quite a long way until 2020 COVID hit. Doc Day, the last Doc Day we did at ATDD, and you saw the pictures the last time we met before here. The last Doc Day at ATDD was really more than 100 people in a room, people from the diabetes advocacy space, people from our partners, the pharma and meta companies that had been involved with us one way or the other, HCPs at EASD, nurses, educators, etc. We were all sitting in this room, and Doctor had always followed the same thing. I would go up front and say, so who wants to talk? And then people would just raise their hand and come forward, and the rule was always the same. You get 5 minutes. Talk about whatever is important to you. There was a flip chart in the beamer sometimes. And I remember one of the coolest things was when Aaron Kowalski, president of JDRF, slowly towards the end raised his hand and asked, is it okay? Can I come as well? And I was like, yeah, sure, this is your stage. So this is the model of Doc Day. There was something different at ATDD in 2020, because that was also the birth of the DiDoc Voices program that I talked about before. So Doc Day would always make use of those people that had somehow made it to EASD by an invitation of some corporate or through a patient association or whichever way. I had always dreamt of being able to bring this community there, but I didn't want to have it attached to sponsored by or supported by. And that's no offense. This is not because I don't like the advocacy work that is done by corporates, but it puts a certain limitation on freedom of speech for some people maybe in the room. So I'd always dreamt of this scholarship program that would make it independent. And we developed this for a couple of years. We've been talking to corporate partners, to EASD and others. And we now have it in place so that there are companies that do support the program in general, but we as the DiDoc team with other advocates out there, we do our own application, we do our own selection process. We had hundreds of people applying this year for these limited 20-some spaces, the people that you just see who then come here and those that follow online. We have given more than 150 scholarships this year, and the alumni pool is growing every year. So at ATDD in 2020, that was the first time that happened, so the room was really cracking. It was packed. And we had been planning to continue that, of course, and then COVID hit. It hit, if you remember, the last week of ATDD. I remember first people rushing out of the room because they had to fly back to, I think, the first person, Milan. No, it was, I'm looking at you. So we had just come up with this great Doc Day expanding and with this great DiDoc Voices program, and then it should all stop. And we were looking at EASD coming up, and we were like, what are they going to do? I mean, the conference is probably not going to take place. There was a lot of insecurity. We started gearing up for virtual DiDoc Voices and virtual Doc Day before we even knew what EASD as an institution was going to go do, because we thought even if they continue, we cannot bring our community of people living with diabetes during COVID. Maybe they will do this for the doctors, maybe they will do this for industry, but I cannot risk this for this group. I myself would not have been comfortable flying. It turned out nobody was flying anywhere anyhow. But what we did with Doc Day and what we did with the DiDoc Voices program is we turned it virtual. And don't get this wrong, but in a way, I'm so grateful COVID happened, because we would have never done and we would have never experienced what came out of it. As I said in the beginning, we used to always work with the people that were already there. The DiDoc Voices program, when we first started it, there was almost zero money behind it. It was really small. It was limited to a few people inside Europe flying the cheapest Ryanair or EasyJet. What the DiDoc Voices program is today, if you look at our booklet, if you come to our booth, if you follow us on Twitter, we have DiDoc Voices from more than 40 countries, including Wanya is here from Pakistan. Just the fact that we can fly you in to come here and be here, I think it's so. Salih from South Africa, and I'm not going to name, you will find them. The DiDoc Voices here, it's an international community from all over the world. The only way we made this possible was through going virtual. That now, 2.5 years later, with EASD back in full bloom and ATD back in full bloom earlier this year, the challenge was the same. It was like, so we're going back to real world scenarios now. What are we going to do with that Doc Day thing and that DiDoc Voices? Because it wasn't geared up to, we'd reached out during COVID to so many people all over the world. So many people all over the world. We had started to stream Doc Day live. And the great thing on a simple Zoom thing, as it was in the beginning, is you can get people from India and Pakistan and Korea and Russia to join, and it doesn't cost a thing. So money wasn't an issue. But then at this point, I do need to thank our corporate partners for this program right now. That is, I hope I'm not forgetting anyone, but Eli Lilly is supporting, Sanofi is supporting, Dexcom is supporting, Diabeloop is supporting. I'm forgetting one, Hannah, help me out. Medtronic, there's a reason why I'm not mentioning them, because we have something in, I was going to do that in the end. I will do that in the end. Medtronic, of course, is our biggest supporter this year overall. Other companies have been supporting in the past. When I came back to them and said, listen, conferences are coming back in person. We have this Doc Day virtual on Zoom. We have this DiDoc Voices program only virtual for the last 2.5 years. Now that we're coming back in person, what are we going to do? I can't go out there and tell all these people that have been engaging with us throughout this pandemic that it's over, because I can only afford Ryanair and EasyJet in Europe. And they made it possible. So thank you for supporting the program, and thank you for supporting us so that we can support this amazing group to come. We took another decision. Thank you, really. We took another bold decision. We decided that also to keep this going, that yes, DiDoc Voices will come here in person, but still we will involve DiDoc Voices virtually. So again, thank you to the other 25, 30 scholars of the DiDoc Voices program that are following virtually. And we decided that we will deal with EASD, ATDD, and ISPAT and negotiate what is now happening, that we can stream this symposium for free on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, on our website, so that everybody can continue to follow, even though we are here on site at the conference. If she was still here, I would say another big thank you for Chantal Mathieu for making that possible. Also for today, and Moshe Philip from ATDD, who allowed us to do that, and Jamie and Karine, President and Secretary General from ISPAT. And the last thing, Doc Day, we took a third decision. Doc Day, and I hope that was the right decision, but Doc Day continues to be fully virtual. So Doc Day is happening next week on Thursday. I would like all of you to mark your calendars, maybe join in if you can. It's as amazing as it always has been, but we decided that the DiDoc Symposium, now that it's here, will kind of take over the Doc Day. There is no agenda. There is a bit of an agenda now. If you want this real, true community feeling, come to our stand. It's right next to the EASD member lounge, not in the industry exhibition, but EASD member lounge next to ADA and IDF and all the big associations. You will meet our voices there, but you will meet them virtually from all over the world on Doc Day, Thursday the 29th. That's basically all I had to say. Renza, I'll hand back to you.
Wonderful. Okay, so we now do have some time for questions. Please do use the microphone. We've had lots of comments coming in. Our DDoc voices are, our virtual DDoc voices are participating online. So if you go and have a look afterwards at our Facebook page, for example, you can watch it all again, and you should, or share it with other people with diabetes and with other health professionals. You can have a look at the conversations that they're having there, and I will read out some comments in a minute. But I'm going to start by, I've got a bit of a question while somebody would like to perhaps make their way to the microphone to ask something. I want to ask, and Bastian, I'll start with you. What do you think was the biggest challenge for the community to say, actually, yeah, we will? I mean, I think a lot of people felt like, well, this is it. I'm just going to disengage. So what was it that you had to do to really get people along to understand that this was a really great way to still stay connected to people?
You mean online?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think it was a challenge at all within the community, because we've, as Andrea said in the beginning, the community has always been online, virtual, next to all the things we did face-to-face. It was more, for Jeff, even more, I can't imagine how that was with this huge event, but it was more how to turn it around. And the bigger challenge is actually right now, after having turned things into virtual, which was actually for us almost the new normal, but it wasn't that big of a thing. But now that we've done that, and you've heard how it has been beneficial to many initiatives and projects in the community, the challenge now is how do we keep that momentum now that things go back to hybrid or face-to-face? Because we don't want to lose what we've built. And we at DDoc have been very fortunate to have these partners supporting us, so we can continue the DDoc Voices program and bring people face-to-face. Jeff has been able to just go back to where it was, but I know that you've had people participating in Friends for Life virtually from all over the world. I guess that is a challenge, because I can imagine you don't fund people to come to Disney World from Pakistan or South Africa. So I think the challenge starts now that we go back to face-to-face.
So Jeff, how are you addressing that? What are you doing so that you don't lose the momentum of all the people who came to virtual Friends for Life and now want to come every year?
So the virtual offerings, the Screenside chats, the Masterpiece product theaters, the Mothful chats, that continues. So that will always remain virtual because it was born virtual. The challenge is, how do we try to give people a taste of the Kool-Aid if they can't come to Orlando? And we will stream some sessions, which we have done, for example, this year. But it's impossible to replicate that experience in the hallway where you see the kid on the ground having a low treating, or you see the interaction with parents meeting an adult with type 1, affirming that their child's going to grow up and do well. So that is very difficult to replicate in the online space. You can't put a camera in the hallway and watch all of that. So we will continue to focus with the online, or the online that we have. But we're going to also really continue to focus on the in-person events where you get the camaraderie, the meeting in the hallway things.
I have a question. I'm going to ask all of you this. So let's go one at a time. Andrea, you can start because you've got a microphone in your hand. What would you say to health professionals? We've got lots of health professionals in the room who might have somebody come in with newly diagnosed or even have had diabetes for years and isn't connected to the community. What sort of things would you like health professionals to say about your community and how people can get involved in it?
It's an excellent question. I think there's a lot of people either don't know about the community or have sort of presupposed ideas of, I don't want to talk about this. I'm embarrassed about my diabetes. I don't want to impose this on anyone else. And I think from the healthcare professional side, there's been a lot of hesitation as well to send people towards anybody who's not a healthcare professional. But there are so many groups that have been developed, both in person and online, even more so in the last few years, that getting to know the groups that exist and being able to cite them, to be able to give examples of groups that exist, just to be able to not feel so alone with diabetes.
Yeah, absolutely. Tom, what would you say?
Yeah, so it's it's important that we can engage with the healthcare professionals. And like we said earlier on, that 0.2 at a time, we have time with the healthcare professionals, and we learn from them as much as they learn from us. And I think it's important that we can welcome them to come on and talk to the community and answer questions. And I feel we're welcome for them to come and get involved and share their knowledge from the community.
Yeah, I think that's one of the important things. I know I've spoken with healthcare professionals who have sort of lurked online a little bit in perhaps a Twitter chat or maybe even in Diabetes Chat and went, oh, actually, this is a really safe space. I feel confident telling people that with diabetes that I see all about this. Jeff, what about you? I mean, I think that with you, you have so much involvement from health professionals. You've got a board, you've got, yeah, so.
I would share with healthcare professionals back to the not 0.02%, but more that the education we get from healthcare professionals is the basics. It's how do I deal with diabetes, how do I carb count and all of that. But the challenge that we see and we hear from our families is the psychosocial challenges of the stress of living with diabetes 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And we don't get that support from the HCP community. We can only get that from people who have walked the path with us. So you need to encourage your patients to go find others, not to be embarrassed, to realize that you will do better when you meet someone who has that same experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And Salih, yeah. Have you spoken with health professionals about the work that you're doing and the communities that you have helped?
Yeah, on my last slide, the multidisciplinary management system. This is what we're actually working towards now. And it is something that they've actually invited me, okay? And this will actually be at another conference in South Africa on the 12th, 13th, leading to Diabetes Day. And they've actually invited exactly the same manner the lived experience diabetics to actually speak on the experience. And what one health professional actually told me is we want to marry the theory that we study with the practical.
Yeah.
And actually put everything together so that we can have the best of education.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think sometimes there might be a concern from health professionals that that these, peer support, whether it be in person or online, is there to replace the work they do. And one of the ways that I try to explain it is I say, we need our health professionals to teach us the rules so that we can break them safely. And that's really, I mean, because otherwise we're just breaking rules left, right and center and who knows what's going to happen. But if I know how, where the sort of boundaries are and how to go outside of those boundaries in a safe way, that makes managing diabetes a little bit easier. And I think that's important. Yeah, Andrea.
I worked on a project over the last few years on transition from adolescent to adult healthcare. And one thing that really struck me was the number of adolescents that we saw in the clinic who absolutely did not want to speak to anybody else with their condition. And then parallel to that, I was running these Café Diabète in Paris every month. And sometimes we had one specifically for young adults. And absolutely, unanimously with the group of young adults, they said that the one thing that they missed through their teenage years was meeting other people like them.
Yeah.
So there's a missed opportunity somewhere in there, and I'm not sure exactly where it is. But I think that healthcare professionals can play a role in finding that spot where there can be that, we can flip from one to the other to say that it could help me. I'm feeling alone. I'm feeling scared. I'm feeling like I don't want this, but it will help me.
Yeah, absolutely. Bastian, I know you want to raise a point, but I want to ask you a question first. So just back to the original question that I was talking about, which was, making sure that having health professionals support what it is that you're doing. How important is being here and being able to say, hey, we are actually part of the scientific program at major diabetes conferences. You've got to give us space. Has that been something that you think people can use as part of their advocacy for peer support back in their local communities?
I think we can use it, and I think to the healthcare community here in the room, you guys can use it because you can point to it. You can say, look, this is not just some fringe online movement out there. Nobody knows what's happening there. This is part of EASD. we have our symposium here, so must be something. If Chantal Mathieu, the senior vice president of EASD, opens the DiDoc Symposium, that stands for something, I hope. So yes, I do think that is important. But here's the thing, the problem with this symposium, with everything we do when we engage with the HCP community, is that we're always preaching to those that already believe in this. So everybody, all the healthcare professionals here in the room, you are here because you're interested. So I don't think I need to tell you guys much about why this is important, because that's why you're here, because you recognize it. What is more important is, what do we want from those that are not here? What do we want from those? I remember over a decade ago when we started DDoc, all the "you can't do that." You can't go out there on Twitter and have conversations about how you manage it. You can't do that. That was especially in Germany, which is very rigid in that thing. So the bare minimum I would want of a healthcare professional, when maybe I, as a person living with diabetes, comes into their healthcare practice and says, you know, I heard about peer support, and I don't expect the healthcare professional to be all over a community and know where to go and what to do and what not to do and what the best platform is, etc. The bare minimum is, yes, that's the answer I want to hear. Do it. Go out there. And I'm going to steal a quote from you, Renza.
Okay.
Find your tribe, love them hard.
Oh.
If a healthcare professional would just say that, when I come in and say, I heard about, don't say you can't do that, or no, stay here, or we'll teach you. No, say, yes, go out there, do it, you'll find your way. Find your tribe, love them hard.
Yeah.
It's your quote, Renza.
It's not my quote. I've just appropriated it for the diabetes world, but it works in so many other ways as well. But I think, though, that and I think that that's actually a point, because you might, as a health professional, have people come in and say, I tried that and I really didn't like the people that I engaged with, or I've got type this diabetes and they all had type that diabetes and I couldn't connect with them. And the response to that is, keep looking, because your people are out there. And I think that that's the thing. Just because somebody has got diabetes doesn't mean that I'm automatically going to connect with them and be best mates with them. It's finding the people who I can have a chat about the things that are relevant to my diabetes. So we've heard different stories here about what that might be. So Tom, I guess with your chats, yes, you would have lots of familiar faces and frequent flyers, repeat offenders, whatever you want to use, who keep coming back. But I guess you probably also have people who tune in specific weeks because, yeah, that's the topic that I'm keen on.
Yeah, of course. And I think we reach out to everyone. We're inclusive to everyone, right? Yeah. So the common theme is diabetes. We're welcome for type 1, type 2, and all the types of diabetes. We're welcome to people who have diabetes. We're welcome to people who healthcare professionals, advocates, whatever. We are welcome to people who are partners, family members, everyone basically connected to diabetes. Yeah. And it's welcome them to come along and feel safe to talk and to learn and share them lived experiences.
Yeah, wonderful. Have we got any questions? I mean, you have got some incredible diabetes advocates here doing amazing things in their community. This is a prime opportunity to ask them questions if you have any. But otherwise, I'm just going to keep asking questions because I'm continuing to learn lots. We have got some comments. Do you want to read some?
If there's questions in the... Is this working?
No.
If there's questions in the room, please just go up to the microphone so we see you. Otherwise, there are questions coming in on the live stream. But yes, go ahead.
Hello. I was just wondering, I know you mentioned you don't expect providers to have this list of sort of online communities, but is there something available on DDoc that lists, perhaps maybe by country, by language that the community is in, by type of diabetes, or can we do that, please?
We actually just relaunched our website very silently a couple of days ago, so it is very blank right now, and there's not a lot of content because we were too late, we were too busy with all of this. But yes, we can do that, but we will do this through our DDoc voices. So what we are thinking of right now is, instead of us doing the work, I don't know what's happening in Liberia, but I know who lives in Liberia and who is a DDoc voice, and that person will know. And I don't know what's happening in Pakistan right now, but Wanya is here and others are there. Sana Ajmal is there, so I can link to them. We can link to our DDoc voices and you contact them and they will tell you.
And that comes back to what we say this is all about. By the community, for the community. No one owns the diabetes community, and we can talk about community in our own space and certainly to a degree about what's going on globally. But as Bastian said, I don't know the intricacies of what's happening on the ground that's not in Australia, which is where I am, and in Melbourne, Australia, for that matter. You know, so we love the fact that it is the community who is able to share what it is that they're doing and to encourage people to join. But let's read some of the things there.
Most of them are really just comments, but there are a couple of questions and they come from all over the world. I'm going to start with Cherise Shockley because she is actually one of the founders of everything on Twitter when it came to social media, etc. And she asks, and that goes to both of us, Jeff, whether we as DiDo could provide scholarships for people from Africa to attend the next Friends for Life session. I think we might have to work on that together. It's not.
You might need to take that one offline and have that conversation. Great idea, Cherise. Good one.
But there is another question from Belinda Moore. That goes to you again. She asks, again, it's a funding question. How do you work in terms of funding? Is it all volunteer run?
From how does CW run? How does the conference run?
I think she meant the conference primarily, yeah.
So our Friends for Life Orlando conference is funded in large part by the generous support of our friends in industry, to a lesser extent through conference registrations. The conference registration cost is about 1/4, but it actually costs us to have you there. And that difference is made up by all of the sponsors you see at our events. The sponsors also fund scholarships, and we fundraise to pay for scholarships for families. And I think last year we brought 35 families and 5 young adults with type 1. The challenge we have is funding travel from outside the US into Orlando. And right now we just don't have budget to do that. But if funds are available, if we find donors, we would certainly be open to doing that.
Yeah.
And we should sit down because, I mean, we have people coming in from Africa and all over the world to hear, so maybe we can do that.
I'm going to just read,
another...
I want to read one out if that's okay in particular.
Okay, you go.
Yes, because there are lots of comments and, you know, we talk about community as being something that is, you know, all is made up of lots and lots of people, but we do to a degree need to have people driving things, and we've seen stories here of people who have been driving them. But I am going to shout out to Bastian because he made this happen. And when he says, I didn't have an agenda in that very overheated, I was there, tiny back room of a cafe in Stockholm 7 years ago, he had an agenda and this was it. He got there in the end. He just may not have known exactly what people were going to say there. But Bastian, you know, there need to be people driving it. And what I would say to health professionals is there are people driving these things in your community, find them and be an ally and build them up and do what you can to support them, because I think that's really important. But I do want to read a comment from Leon Tribe, and I'm being a little bit biased because he is from Australia, but he says, Bastian, you continue to dent the universe through your passion and advocacy, and you're an inspiration to me and to so many. And that is absolutely true. So I think that he does get a call out, and I'm going to be seriously told off for doing this, but thank you very much.
You know, these people did this to me last night. I had no clue. I came into the hotel late last night just thinking that I would take the next cab and then just crash. And there was a party going on.
There was.
For DiDoc.
There was.
Because it was our 10-year anniversary. And I had no clue. Hanne is in the back. Hanne, the CEO of DiDoc, I don't know how he did it, but there was a video going on for 20 minutes with people from all over. It started with Chantal, Mathieu singing happy birthday to DiDoc.
Oh, we should have played it.
And it involved people from all over the world, corporate partners, DiDoc voices, HCPs, people I've been working with over the last decade plus, and I had no clue. Steffi, head of communications and community. Thank you. I'm not good at standing in the spotlight, but thank you. I have a question, however, that is very important that I would like to put, that came through the chat to this panel, but it actually goes to the HCPs here in the room. because there is a question coming in that says, so what we had been discussing before, how do we reach HCPs not yet converted or not yet interested in what's happening here?
Yeah.
And maybe somebody from the HCP community in the room would care to have a thought about this, because all we do is we build community and we try to speak out. But those of you here, maybe you are the ones who need to reach out to your colleagues, to the people in your community to give this visibility. Is there anyone who has
We've
an
got
idea?
someone. We've got someone
Yes.
down the back.
Okay, I'm Kitty Wine. I'm from the Ohio State University in the US. And my first thought when you said that was my heart just sank, because I don't know how to get to these people. They all think type 1 diabetes is too hard. They don't want to do it, or they treat it as type 2 and put everybody on 60 of Lantus and no Humalog. But what you can do is you can convince them that it's not hard to manage diabetes, that we can do it, that especially type 1 diabetes is not this scary, mysterious thing. Be yourselves and reach out to them and pull them into the community. Convince them that they can do it, that they can be partners, that their job is to help you, not tell you what to do. And I say that because I was trained in a patriarchal, dictatorial model of how to manage type 1 diabetes. And my goal is to change that model, to change it so that my patients are in charge. But that's be yourselves, but reach out to them and keep doing what you're doing and talk to them.
Yep, thank you. All right. Oh, we have another comment here. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Astrid Glaser from the German Center for Diabetes Research, and it's really great having this event here. We know Bastian, we know several of you, so having also events here during the EASD. And so I really think it is very important that also the research is working together with you. And so in the DZD, we actually founded a citizen and patient advisory board. And so having them on board also when we are discussing the research and what is important for you and how can we help you. So we are very happy being in contact with you. And so I'm very happy that you are here at the EASD in this session.
Thank you. And thank you for, as researchers, for the researchers in the room, asking people with diabetes what's important, because you'd be surprised. Sometimes it's very different to what you think is actually important and what we need. Yes, Nina, but we've got a question. We've got a comment down the back first.
Yeah, hi, I'm Anne-Marie from the Danish Diabetes Association. We have groups for young people with type 1 diabetes, and they are very happy to be part of it. But we've also heard from young people with type 1 diabetes who don't want to meet other sick young people, and they are not attracted to being part of groups. Do you have any suggestions for or any knowledge about what they might think about it, and what could help them to come and experience what it could be like? Because we have seen that many people, young people who then join, they are so happy meeting other young people who are in the same condition, and that they can sit with their blood glucose and insulin pen and just be normal.
We'll jump. Sorry, I'm sorry to cut you off, but we actually are at time, and this room needs to be given up. Sorry, Nina. You'll talk to us later. She's one of our DDoc voices. But Jeff, you've got literally 30 seconds before I start singing.
The best example I can give on that is parents who have brought teenagers kicking and dragging and screaming to our Friends for Life Orlando conferences, thrown them into the teen room at 9 in the morning with the teen basically not speaking. And at the end of that first session, the teen comes out and says, next year's conference is at this date, we're going, right? And I think it illustrates the power of peer support even for kids.
Yep, perfect. Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to step off.
Way to get providers to actually get some empathy is put a CGM on them and let them have the alarms.
Okay. Okay, so Bastian, I'm going to leave the final word to you because it's always the final word to you. Excellent, thank you.
And I don't think we have anything. Oh, that's probably not going to load, but we're going to just have a save the date slides with all the events, but for some reason it's not working. I would like to thank this amazing panel, Andrea for giving an introduction to how peer support coped with COVID, to Jeff talking about Friends for Life and how you are going back now to bringing 3,000 plus people, hopefully in the future, including from Africa and other regions, to Disney World. To Salih for your amazing efforts you've done during COVID under especially difficult circumstances, personally and during COVID, and to you bringing a new chapter to the TweetChat community with the Diabetes Chat. I would like to thank all of you for being here. Again, I would like to thank the DiDoc Voices. Please continue to spread the word. You are what makes this ball rolling. Continue to do what you do. I love that you're here. And finally, again, to the partners that make this program possible, which is now completely with, with Medtronic. And I'm mentioning them at the end because I forgot them in the beginning, because Medtronic is bringing to EASD the Blue Balloon Challenge. If you haven't seen it yet, please go check it out in the industry exhibition. We are a partner. We have been working with them for over a year to make this a really, really cool awareness campaign. And they're also behind everything we've been doing this year, like our other partners that have been supporting the DiDoc Voices program. Thank you very much. Tune into our online events. The next one is next week on Thursday, Doc Day, and you will find all the other information on didoc.org. Thank you very much. And thank you, Renza. Thank you for moderating this panel.